samu matsala da Burkina ake cewa akwai wani abu ciki da ke bada ciwon kansa. To ita wanda ta yi wannan research muna tare da ita a nan cikin gida inda za ta zo ta tattauna da mu ta gaya muna mu ji dindindin magana asalin abin da dai ake nufi in dai da gaske ne in kuma ba haka bane ko kuma maganan ta an juya mata magana ne su tana nan tare da mu. Muna tare da Professor Regina Appiah upon ita toxicologist ne da Clinical Pathology Department na Noguchi nan wurin Accra. Tana tare da mu a research kenan suke tana nan wurin sanda zuwa dan you say sanuka dai sanuka dai
to jama'a a gaface mu ba ta jin Hausa shi sa mun mata tambaye ne cikin turanci in ta ba da jawabi mun samu dama sai mu fassara cikin Hausa ne kamata. I just told them that you don't understand the Hausa language, so when we throw the question at you and you give her the answers, we'll take the time to translate in Hausa for them, so that we will all be on the same page.
Same page, yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.
The issue, speculating, we all know about the Burkina, authentications that the research came out with. People went buhaha on the issue, feeling that the business is going to collapse. Why the research on Burkina? Burkina is it's something that we consume mostly and lots, especially in our Zongo communities. Now, why the research?
Okay, thank you very much. Just as you introduced me, I am a researcher at the Department of Clinical Pathology of the College of Health Science, University of Ghana. And our mandate, when you are employed, you are supposed to conduct research. And we conduct research that is of public importance. Okay. We don't just do something, it should be important to the public. So if the research must be important to the public, and we're also safeguarding the health of the public, then we should be looking at, and for me, especially as a toxicologist, it is not out of place. Of course, I have my area of interest, but it is not out of place when I see something that is could be harmful to the society, the public, to turn and look at it and see whether there could be any advice to safeguard the health of the public. And indeed, that is the reason why we embarked on this research, because as you rightly said, Burkina is common, it's popular. It's in fact, as the years pass, we're getting more and more popular. In fact, a colleague of mine who's also a professor told me, "Oh, I drink it a lot." And I said, "Yes, that is good." If you look at what is used, the constituents, it's just the food we eat. It's just the millet, it's just the milk and sugar, and then you add water, as so. So if you look at the constituents in themselves, nothing is good. But where we're coming from is, as you introduced the toxicology, so you are saying that, is there any harmful thing that can come by this? The natural foods are fine. Now, what comes with it is a problem of storage.
Okay.
When the brains, not only Burkina, so when I was speaking at another station, they said, "We called you to come and talk about Burkina." Now you're talking about corn. You're talking about, and I said, I could talk about many other things. Groundnuts, everything, rice even, And the issue about it is that when food, the harvest, when crops are not properly stored.
Like the dry food.
The dried. Sometimes even the mold starts on the farm. So I don't know if you have seen a corn cob and it's already moldy on the farm.
Yes, I've seen a couple.
And sometimes if you don't have a farmer who is very conscious of these things, they will just harvest everything.
Okay.
And so it's important for the millet, for instance. If you do not remove the bad ones from the farm, and you bring them home. That is the first point. And then, even when you bring it home, it's not like that on the farm, but you bring it home and you don't store it well. For instance, now it's raining. You see, when it rains, we all know that things get moldy.
Yes.
A lot of infections.
Yes, exactly. So you bought it from the farm, it didn't look like that. You brought it home and you didn't store it well.
Store it well. You definitely
get moldy. And the mold the mold is living. The mold produces a toxin known as aflatoxin. And the whole world National Cancer Institute grades this toxin as #1 causing cancer. And so it's not something that we want to toy with. All over the world, nobody toys with aflatoxin. Nobody. And that's the reason why when Ghanaians are sending food abroad for sale, they would check the level of aflatoxin. There are some countries that would say, if it is more than 10 parts per billion, that's a measure. We don't want it.
They don't want it.
And a lot of the countries will take about 20.
Okay.
So we work with 20 a lot, 20 ppb. Then if it's above it, we don't want it. So we looked at this and we said, okay, this Burkina is very common and people are taking it. Burkina is made from millets and it is made from milk.
Yeah.
Now, if an animal, if the cattle, the milk that time, we did it some time ago, years ago, they were using dairy milk at that time.
Yeah.
So if a cattle or any human being takes
the milk from the
food from contaminated millet contaminated with aflatoxin.
Okay.
And let me say that there are, at least you have 4 types of aflatoxin that are very, of great concern.
Okay.
We have aflatoxin B1, we have B2, we have G1 and G2. But aflatoxin B1 is common and it is very toxic. And so the focus has been on that one. So we focused on that one. Now, if the animal takes in its aflatoxin, in there, the aflatoxin, there are some enzymes, you see, let's say some things inside us, that will convert the aflatoxin into another metabolite, which is aflatoxin M1, which is also toxic. Just that it is 10 times less toxic than the B1. And this is gone into the milk. And then we take the milk, and then we take the millet, and we take the milk, and we put it together. And then people say, it's good winning food for my baby. I'm now going to go there and talk about that, maybe if we have time to talk about that.
So let's quickly just translate
so
that one.
I've been taking nufichi. I'm not better. Me isa akai wannan shi research din and dangan batun shi Burkina na. Take what out come on. So aikin su ke ma aikin su ke ciki ne shine su duba su magance wa'anda abubuwan da dai kawo na masala a cikin abincin da muke ci. Wato su ko duba kamar abincin da su ga kamar yau ake shara cin sosai shi ne Burkina. To a duba shi Burkina din me ke cikin su aikin su kenan. Ba dai sun yi saboda dai a bata business wani bane a suna so su duba saboda ni da kai mu samu lafiyan cikin mu sai suka duba kaman yawanci ana cikin wata hadari kuma cikin watan gani abin ga shi toxications nan ke high shi abin da ke tare da shi wannan aflatoxin nan yana kama abincin nan ke da dry kaman wasu shinkafa su gujiya da maiwa da masara makamacin haka kuma sa'ilin kuma ina farawa tun shi wurin
sometimes daga gona kinga ka ba kaman shi millet na ya bata maimako a cicire wayannan na fada shi cikin an hada shi cikin wayannan da cikin exactly kuma in an kawo wurin storage na wurin haje wanda kuma ba duban wurin da kyau shaje shi ko ta yaya kuma shi ta kawo kuma cewa kamar funfuna kun gane dai masu kallo funfuna kamar ka ga wani fari-farin abu ya dudun wani ya dudun kulle ciki
sai kuma ta kawo cewa kamar in ma dabbobin kuma suka ci shi dabban na iya ci shi funfunan din ya shiga cikin systemin shi yana ma sakewa ya kawo shi toxication na mai kai sama sa'ilin kuma an ja madara cikin wannan dabba ga shi funfunan maiwan ga funfunan shi na nono
kuma aka hada
Burkina kenan shi yasa ya bari toxication na yaje sama yasa sanadiyar suka duba kamar ya za yi a magance so da abin tana gwada kamar wasu garuka nan ba kai wayannan abincin daga wurin saboda ana son a magance shi wannan shi toxin na saboda iska cikin jikin ka gaske na kawo matsala sosai.
All right. So
I believe that you said it all.
Yeah. Okay. So you've already talked about the sample, so I don't think we need to go back to the sampling again because you did dairy milk and then the millet. So I don't think we should delve on that one again. So which areas? I want to know the areas the samples were taken. If it was in Accra or outside Accra, because we know usually millet comes from up north, and the cattle to some of them like surround up north, and then some areas around, let's say Tulagu, Ashamine, and all those places. So was that where you guys did the research? You took the samples from?
Yes. Thank you very much. So it was something that it was a pilot.
Okay.
So we at Noguchi in Accra. So the closest to us.
Okay.
One of our staff who actually led. In fact, he was the one who said, "Bro, why don't we look at Burkina? People like it a lot." I believe he himself was bringing it. Why don't we find out whether there's anything in it? So he was coming from Ashama area. So in the morning when he was coming, then he could pick some from Ashama.
Okay.
So we picked the Burkina. We went to the producers. We didn't interact, so we didn't need ethics. When you interact, then you need ethics. So we just bought the Burkina, and we bought the millet, and we bought the dairy milk. And they were very nice. They would just sell it to us. And then we went to Nima, which is also very close to us.
Yes.
So we bought also because we needed a place where they make the thing, so that you can be able to tell. Because you see, so we bought millets and we bought milk and we bought the Burkina. And we did that over a period. We should have done a year, but we were tired somewhere. So we stopped around 7 months.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, it took you,
so we did it every month. Okay. For 7 months.
To masu kallo na tambaye ta ne na ce wani unguwa da wani unguwa suka yi wanga research na shi ta ce to wayan abokin aikin ta shi ta side a Shama yake suka sai nono suka sai maiwa da kuma suka sai Burkina daga Ashama sannan kuma suka sai nono suka sai maiwa daga Nima kuma suka sai Burkina shi suka wai 7 months wata bakwai ya dauke su suka yi wannan research na kowane wata suna yi kowane wata suna yi ba wai kamar sun tashi dai rana ɗaya ne suka yi wanda ya kamata ma su yi shi shekara ne wata that means wata 12 kenan amma sun yi shi wata bakwai suka samu dama suka yi kowane wata suna dubawa to ina ganin ya saboda maybe wurin ajiya da wasu abubuwa yanda ake ajiyewa yasa suka gano cewa akwai wannan shi aflatoxins nan cikin wannan maiwan ko burkinan ko kuma shi nonon da suka yi da shi nonon shanu suka use dairy right nonon shanu suka test suka gane da shi yasa suka ga kama akwai wannan ciki ba wai lalle kaman da dole ne kowane lokaci amma sun yi shi ne tsawon wata bakwai kuma suka gano shi wannan kaman akwai wannan abun nan cikin shi wannan abincinmu da muke ci Burkina.
So zan tambaye ta menene sakamakon shi binciken da aka yi shi dangane batun shi aflatoxin da ke cikin Burkina ne sai an ta bani jawabi na zo ka muku shi a jawabin da ta bayar. So Prof, after the research, we just want to find out that what were the findings from the research.
Okay. Before I get to the findings, there's some things that I need to mention.
Good.
Yes. So, for instance, aflatoxin is heat resistant.
Heat resistant.
So you cannot cook the food and think that
you've gotten rid of it. Okay.
It is waiting for you.
Wow.
And when you have aflatoxin, you know, in this country, out of every 3 people, at least you have 1 person who has hepatitis B.
Okay.
Which is very serious. And when you contract it, it's not leaving you today or tomorrow. So when you have aflatoxin and hepatitis B coming together, you have a high risk of getting liver cancer.
Okay. Yeah, because the hepatitis is also liver related.
Exactly. Hepa is liver. So we are looking at, and in this country, liver cancer is a major problem.
Okay.
And aflatoxin is all around us. In fact, if you look at the millets, that was why I got into maize the other time I talked about it. If you go to the places where they mill, they make cake in the factory. You see, they buy the sacks of, and sometimes you want to avoid the cost going high, the lean season. So they store the thing. And when they pick it from the bag, they only know they pick the bag and they have a barrel of water.
They just pour it.
Unlike your home, you will take it and clean it.
Yeah.
They will pour the thing in. So these are some of the concerns that we are trying to. We are not at anybody. It's just about knowledge.
Yes.
That at least get to know that this is dangerous for our health. And now hepatitis is everywhere. And you really don't, you cannot just say you're curing yourself. And aflatoxin is also around us. You know, all the things, groundnuts can have it. All the things that we are eating can get moldy.
Greens.
And we can have it.
Yeah.
And so when they come together, it's not good for us. And it's important that we stress on the fact that cooking it will not let it go.
Okay.
And also its adverse effects, especially on children, it affects their growth. It impairs the growth of children. And that's a great concern. And it causes stunting. You see, the child is not growing. It's just small. You know? And so you really don't, and it's unfortunate if you are getting a child taking something that may contain, I'm not saying all of them.
Yeah.
Because it depends on how the person is keeping his millet. In fact, I had 4 women from Nima come to talk to me and to find out why their business are going down, what is it, you know. And they were so nice. They just came to find out what was happening. So I sat them down and explained everything to them. And once the son he was carrying, he was giving the child every day. It's like something that he takes every
time.
And then I asked them, well, if your millet, everything is okay, then you're fine. And they actually told me that they are not using dairy milk anymore.
I was about to.
And so now they are using the skimmed milk.
Skimmed milk, yeah.
But we still have the millet content.
Yes, the millet is the main issue, aside from the milk.
We still have, and then in fact they were telling me that sometimes they struggle even to get the millet, and some of the millet they get is so you can actually see that it doesn't look, quality is bad, but that's all they have.
Yeah, and they have to make use of it.
And they are business people, and they work. So that is where we are. That we have to say no if it is bad. I don't have to hurt somebody else. You don't know how it's going to impact somebody's life.
Yes.
The person may die, you know, because aflatoxin, the thing about it is chronic. So if you look at the results, let me come to our results we had. From the results we had, you realize that all the way from January up to May, we didn't see aflatoxin level reaching the unacceptable limits.
Which is?
Which is 20 ppb, as I mentioned, ppb, parts per billion.
Yeah.
They were all below
20.
So if you were sending these samples outside, there wouldn't be a problem for business.
Below 20 is normal.
Yes. But then you realize that we have 2 seasons in this country. We have the rainy season and the dry season.
Yeah.
So in our 7 months, we caught 2 months. That's the first 2 months are peak periods for the dry season.
Dry season, yes.
That is January, February. And then we caught the rainy season and the peak June, July. So it was in June, July that we had the highest level because it's raining.
20 ppb.
20. And even there we had, at least for the samples, the number of samples we picked 2, at most in total of about 3 that were showing that high. But the significant part of it was that every sample we picked had aflatoxin.
Wow.
There was not one that did not have aflatoxin. And we are talking about chronic effects. So whether it's all the way up or not, you are taking it every day.
Look at what you're doing to yourself.
Exactly. So the message is that we cannot stop eating. Because you cannot say that it is in Burkina. So I will not take Burkina. I eat kinky.
You can't say because...
I don't even know how they prepare it.
Yes.
I just go and buy the kinky and eat. It's just the work that we've done that has, I mean, this is what we focused on. We would go to another one and we'll do it. And we'll say that here also. But I think that even with one, we already have a picture of what is going on. What is going on,
because it's all the same line of food, because they are all grains. So you should know that if it's found in one grain, it will definitely be in another grain. Wow.
And so the advice here is for the regulators and also the Ministry of MOFA to continue. I believe they're educating the farmers to continue to do that for us, because it is critical now because of hepatitis B and because of the cancer problem. And so we need everybody not to be selfish. Don't think about your money, but think about the next person. Even you are also taking it. I believe that those who produce they also drink it.
That's like their food.
Exactly.
That's what is their go-to food. When they turn around, that's what they'll pick and take.
Exactly. And so one said, I give it to my children.
Of course, the porridge.
And the child will not die today.
Nah, it's a long time.
By the time he grows up to a certain age, he has a very bad liver. Wow. And your child has stomach and he's dying, and you have no idea why your child is dying. But he started from infancy. You are an adult, so if you start Burkina now, the effect on you will not be as the one whose liver is not developed. And he's taking the thing You know, so it's not just Burkina. I'm sorry I'm using Burkina, but if it takes any food contaminated with aflatoxin. And so I think it's just a way to wake us all up and say that we should be careful with our produce, farm produce. Farmers should help us. Don't think about your money. Think about the nation. Put the nation first.
A takaice magana ta fadi ta tattaba dangane mun tambaye ta menene shi results na ne zo daga shi wannan research na suka yi. Kamar ta wannan magana ta li wasu zatutuka cewa kaman ba tana magana cewa kaman duka shi toxic na ina kan Burkina bane a dukunin da muke ci ga shinkafa ga maiwa ga wake ga shi gujiya wai yana taba wayannan abubuwan nan duka amma mutanen da wai wasu mata daga nima masu business na suke Burkina sun zama ta office gaskiya shi ta ji tsoro amma wai na suka zo an zama yana kamata an tattauna ta explain musu abin da sa aka shiga cikin wannan research nan saboda lafiya ne da kai kuma shi ta magana cewa kamar abin nan kama duba kamar cewa business ne da kake a kana tunanin kudi da kike samu ita ne kuma kamar lafiyan wasu kuma na cikin danger kuma ku duba cewa kamar abin da ke ci musu tuwa koriya shine ko ke damun su sosai shine yara wai yaro karami ya zo girman shi kana expect kamar ya yi wani girma amma girman nan bai grow faster yana yin kamar yana gida kuma yaro ya kawo ni age amma gashi ne karami ba you know shi yasa salin kuma ta duba kuma wai cewa kamar na suka yi test na sample na suka samu dukkan abin da suka samu cikin duka shine dukkanin su na da shi aflatoxin na ciki gaskiya ya kama na damuwa yana da damuwa sosai kuma tana gwada haka man ba saboda duka ba kuma wai cikin period of time January to May na shi wannan period of time na ba taba samun toxin ya kai wannan 20 ppb na wanga ya hit to the ban na wanda kan na ko garin ma yana kawo abinci ya kai wani limit ma ba su duka amma farko abin da ke so ta sanar da jama'a shine kama duba da kudi na muke samu mu duba da lafiyar mutane the next person ko kai na kike cin da kunun nan kai ne ke shan burkinan nan kai ne ke cin gujiyan nan kai ne ke cikin maiwan nan dukan nan shi na shinkafa na dukan nan kuma farko ta wani magana wai kaka duba kamar in ka dafa zafi ya kashe shi wai wannan aflatoxin zafi bai iya shi
heat resistant
ba coronavirus bane zafi bai iya shi sa shi na kaka duba kamar ba kuma ne da dai an sa da cikin ruwan nan ya ka wanke da ka dafa na shi kina wai zafi bai iya shi imagine zafi bai iya shi kuma muna cikin watan na ake hadari shi da kaka san kamar muna cikin danger kuma after bin na kwata maganar shi ina affect kidney shi waga ciwo na kuma dangane kidney ke isa imagine kamar yaro karami ana bashi wannan su irin abinci ya affect kidney shi liver shi from liver shi na inni babba liver na duwana wake yaro na shi liver shi ke grow yake develop shin na yara da shi kaga yaro aka yi wani age ya samu liver problem shi ba na stand mai zo ba ya fito tun kasa abincin da ake bashi yasa mu duba dangane batu abinci kuma wai wannan suke shi pharmacy na
wai manoma sometimes ba ma daga wani zubin ma wai daga gona abin ke faruwa wasu kuma masu sayan irin su sai kayan masara da kayan maiwa a sai a ajiye shi ba ba an cicire shi wanda ya fufunan ba a shi aje a zuba shi ta yi example ma da kenke kaga in sun sai masaran sun ajiye inda ranar da in ya kai kan wannan buhun shi aje ya zuba ciki dai ne kawai ba kwanta da hankali a ciki ko gida ma waɗansu ma aka ce funfuna ne muka dafa ya kashe shi to a duba a sa hankali ba shi lalle ba kan Burkina kaɗai ba ne a sa hankali kaga wani shinkafa wani wake ya yi funfuna shi ce na dafa ya mutu wai wuta zafi bai kashe shi wannan aflatoxins da ke kawo wannan ciwon nan kuma ba wai cikin Burkina kaɗai ba ne yasa masu Burkina don Allah da masu aikin masara da aikin da maiwa da a duba lamarin funfunan nan in kaga abu ya yi funfuna kaka duba ka ce ba komi ya mutu ya kashe shi a'a saboda kwai kudin ka shi ka je ka jima mutane ciwo shi yasa ba wai kamar sun yi shi ne su bata ma wani kasuwa ba research ne in yau sun yi kan maiwa next time kuma sun move su je kan wani abinci daban ba wai kamar sun yi shi ne su kashe ma wani kasuwa ba kuma ta ce ma wai shi sun duba kan da na an tambaya batun ai ba kowa ke use nono sosai yake yin Burkina nan da shi ana use skimmed milk to shi wannan madaran shi bai da matsala amma matsalan sosai ne shi mai wannan kan wannan abincin maiwa busasshen abinci kenan shinkafa maiwa masara da sauransu kan shi ne suka yi wannan binciken da suka yi nan. Mana.
So, okay, from the samples that we've taken, of course, you've spoken about the dangers of the aflatoxin to be consumed. You've spoken about it. It affects the liver and all that. Okay. Does hygiene constitute in the creation of this toxin?
In a way, I would say so, because we have. If you are not, you are not neat. You are not storing things properly.
Yeah.
But if you are very organized in your home, and you put things in airy places. I didn't talk about humidity. Humidity is also one of it. So you see that when it's raining, it's more humid.
Humid, and it becomes, you store anything, it becomes more.
Yes, if humidity is low, you wouldn't get that.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it inhibits the growth of, yes. So usually that's also a problem. So if you have somebody who, you have a room, and because you don't want to waste your space in your house, you think that the corn and the millet is, you stack it somewhere where there's some water passing somewhere close by, and all that. You are creating a lot of mess for your own family, even if you're doing it for a family. And it gets worse if you are selling that produce to the food product, to the public. It is very unfair. I think it's very unfair. If you don't care, you're thinking of your money and the business. So I was just telling the ladies who came to see me that I feel very sad when I see people are not trying to reason and say that, okay, probably helping our business. How do we do? Because you want to satisfy your customers. You know, you don't want to give them, because they can't see now, you want to give it to them. If they will die, they'll die in future. Sure. And they may not be able to even link it to
whatever thing that he's selling.
Exactly. They may not be able to link it, but he's bought it and he's in his fridge and he's feeding himself and his family with it every time and so on. So I think that we should all be concerned as a nation. We are all at risk. All of us, whether you take Burkina or not.
Yeah.
So, jama mun tambaye ta dangane batun sabta. In sabta kuma yana cikin abubuwan da ke kawo shi wannan toxin din. Gaskiya ta nuna damuwanta cewa kamar sabta yana da kamata na duba. So da wai in aka zo wurin humidity cewa lokacin akwai iska. Akwai lokacin nan akwai iska na bugawa yadda kamata, ba sanyi ba, sanyi daban. Iska kuma daban. Wannan na in aka store abincin nan wurin da kaza kamar iska ya baibaye shi, bai kawo wannan shi
ya samu zafi har ya funfuna.
Exactly, bai kawo wannan funfuna. Amma ga kanan baka so kana so ka samu wani dan space wani kamar sa wurin nan aka yaje mai wanda so shinkafan nan wani karamin lungu ciki wani daki a fafakin shi duk tora shi gashin ga zafi ga wani bi ma in aka hadari shadari na diga wannan dakunan nan ma ba shi rufan nan ya kamata a bashi fufuna kama shi gashin dai daga wurin nan kuma mun san yawanci Burkina din wannan ciku da ke wai ba lalle Burkina ba abincin nan iri makamanta iri haka nan wasu na nana sai shi bakin gota ne wurin ake dafawa lungu wurin ake dafawa me shi bai da space ya dafa abincin nan ana dafa shi wurin na ba sabta kuma tana gwada kun wai sabta yana play very key important role dangane batun shi abincin da kaka duba cewa kamar kudin da kai da ka samu ko kai riba wannan da ya ci abincin da ya zo ya mutu maybe wani shekara da dama amma ba ma san kamar dangane shi saboda kai rashin tsaftanki ko rashin tsaftanka da abincin kike sayarwa ko kike sayarwa ya kawo wannan ciwo na mai shi na ya rasa rayuwar shi kuma mun sani in saboda kai riban ka wani ya mutu ka gamu da Allah.
I think we've explained about the hygiene aspects to them. They should try and store it in airy places where they can, so that it won't get moldy. On to the next question. So what are some of the preventive measures we can't take to reduce aflatoxins, or if possible eliminate them from our food?
Okay, very well. Thank you very much. The first is what you have explained, that we should store our grains and our foods very well. We should air them. If you have a lot, you harvested a lot, can you find a place where you can open it up periodically to make sure that it doesn't get moldy? Yes, and it may be costly, but especially those in business, I think that Greek MOFA should be able to help. We should have silos, somewhere that you can store it, that you can go for it. Not in your house where it's also crowded and you can't get any sunlight coming in it, you know. in sacks sitting there. One lady was saying, can sit for months. Some people even want money, so they just store it, just so that the lean season will come and then they can make more money. You're not thinking of the status, the condition of the millet. So that's the first one. The storage is the first thing that we can do. Now the next thing is that the body has its own mechanism of getting rid of harmful substances like aflatoxin. And so the body is able to, if the level is not overwhelmed. Okay, so it has glutathione, it has many things. It's a system that is able to bring it down. Yeah, so if you take it for a while, it's not something that you are taking consistently. It is when you overwhelm the body that it cannot clean it up. Otherwise, we wouldn't be alive because we are taking a lot of
It's true,
dry food. Especially in Ghana, most of our foods are dry food.
And the body
it's through millets, all these stuff, the bonku, the fufu, the bonku and the bonku and the washi. You know, most of our foods come from these dry grains.
So we also did a study, and it's still ongoing, work hasn't completed, where there was with a university in the US, AME, Texas, and they with a professor who was just retired from our place, Professor Niayi Ankra. He actually is the brain behind all the aflatoxin work. So the study, they looked at it's like clay. It's called Novasil, Novasil clay, and they realized that it's able to bind aflatoxin when you mix it with food. So we did this work. The work was done at Ejura. You know, Ejura, there's a lot of groundnut and grains. And all grains that. There. So they mix they take the urine samples from the children or the blood samples, and we test aflatoxin level, and then you would give the food with the clay, and you realize that the study showed that the clay was able to clear
the aflatoxins in their system.
In their system. Yeah. So work is still ongoing. To see, you know, whether because it has to be acceptable. It's not very easy to mix clay with your food, you know. But
if it's something that is going to help you, why not?
They might convert into tabs
or something else.
It's something that we can just quickly take it without even knowing that we are consuming clay.
Exactly. You know. Hopefully it comes in a way, they're packaged in a way that... And we also did a study in our department. And because there was a study from one of the African countries, and they looked at the foods they were eating. Because when the aflatoxin goes inside us, I talked about enzymes, our body system is able to convert the aflatoxin to a more toxic component. It's called epoxide, aflatoxin epoxide. That is very toxic. That itself is carcinogenic. Even without hepatitis B, that is alone can cause cancer.
Wow. And then how much more you add that to HB again?
Yes. Wow. So the body has that form. So there's an enzyme that converts it to that form. So this group that we saw, that work we saw, they used their local foods to see whether any of them could block that formation of that metal. So we tried to use some of the foods we have on our market. So we use okro. We use garden eggs. We use ademe. We use insusa. Insusa, you know, the turkey berry.
Turkey berry,
yes. And then 5 of them. So we prepared them, and we tested them in a system using a rat liver system to see whether they could block aflatoxin, the epoxide formation. And what we saw was that each one of them was able to reduce the epoxide formation, but the okra was the strongest. So actually, we were all, it was quite interesting. We said, hey, it's wonderful that we usually eat banku with okra.
So it was like we're taking aflatoxin in the way, quotes and quotes, at the same time we're taking its
an antidote
alongside. So while this one is going, this one is killing it.
And the garden eggs was the next. The garden egg was the next. At least that was the in vitro work that we did. So at least we found that interesting. We said, well, probably the foods we are eating are helping us. You know, that we did only a few of them, but it would be interesting to look into other foods. Maybe something else is stronger than these. So those are some of the things. And so I hope that researchers coming up will also be looking more into it, and then we would do things in-house, because these foods many out there may not be interested in what we are doing. So they are doing it for themselves.
Okay.
So we should do
4 hours.
Exactly.
Well. No, okay.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Prof. Na tambaye ta ne kaman like akwai abubuwan da za mu yi mu tare shi wannan shi aflatoxins ga shi ta ce mun kaman su da kansu ma suna researchin su sun research da wani university daga America aka yi wani abu dai kaman laka ne dai to wai sun test wannan nan daga ejura kenan saboda ai ejura ana noman shi maiwa masara shinkafa da sauransu da gujiya wannan wuraren to shi aka use kan yara aka yi wanda aka ba su shi wannan clean aka test fusarin su aka ga kaman abun ya rage sosai to suna ga kaman nan gaba dai maybe an yi abun in a way da maybe in kana ga kamar zaka hada laka wannan lakan special lakan da suka yi maybe mutane ba za su hankalin su zai kwanta suna hadawa da abincin su ba to maybe sun zo su yi shi in a more presentable way da ma kana sawa ma cikin abincin ka ko zaka sha ma bayan ka ci abinci ba zai dame ka ba kamar tablet kuma a yi shi kamar magi ko wani wai ka zuba dai kan abincin ka ci da shi rage shi wannan aflatoxin shi tace bayan haka kuma sun duba abinci kuma daban-daban da zai iya tare mu cikin abincin da muke ci da zai iya tare muna shi lamarin aflatoxins cikin system wai sun test da kubewa suka yi da ayoyo suka yi kuma da ya sunan shi gauta wato garden eggs kenan sannan suka yi da kwansusa wanda ake sawa cikin miyan kwakwa wannan green da taki berry kenan suka yi da shi a sun yi test duka da amma wanda ya fi karfi shine kubewa to kun ga kuma mamakin Allah ana cin banku da kubewa ake ci miyan kubewa ake ci yasa an ka ci shi in maybe cikin masaran da ka ci akwai aflatoxins shi kubewa shi dan tare maka shi wannan yana kashe maka kaga Allah kenan yanda yake yin abun shi yana yin komi da yanda zai abun da zai kawo magani duka yana tafiyar da shi yasa an kana cin banku da miyan kubewa in ka kana samun cuta shi kuma kubewan kuma yana rage muna shi wannan cuta yasa ba wai Burkina kaɗai ake samun maiwa kaɗai ake samu akwai su abinci daban-daban da dama yasa suna gani kuma wai nan gaba su ma wannan inda suka yi research na ai kasan waje da su ma suna ga kamar su ma mu da muke cikin gida nan Ghana ya kamata su yi kokari su samu su ma nasu mu ma abincin da muke ci garin mu ma a samu abinda cikin abincin ba shi ma magani ba abincin da zai ringa tare irin wayannan cututtuka daban-daban da muke samu cikin shi abincin da muke ci kuma da yake ba mu cuta shi a samu abincin da zaka ci kuma da zai tare shi wannan cutan shi sa maganan da muka yi kina yasa ba Burkina kaɗai ba ne ana ce muku ku sa rai kamar Burkina kaɗai ne ba Burkina kaɗai ba ne haka ta karfafa shi wannan zancen wai ba Burkina kaɗai ba ne abincin na nan daban-daban mu ne dai kamata mu duba hankali ko a gida ma zaka ga wani abu yayi funfuna shi ka ce ba komai bane shi ka ce zaka ci kana kawo ma kanka cuta yasa mu duba dai a gyaggyara da kyau a san yanda zai
kuma sa'ilin ta yi magana kuma kamar shi cin shi abincin nan inda kana cin shi dindindin kana cin shi consistently kowane lokaci kana cin wani abincin na kamata ne ka duba sosai saboda shi aflatoxin nan yana wurin ya shiga bai iya zafi bai iya shi na yana tare da kanshi ne amma da ciki shi ko Allah kuma ta magana kuma mu duba ta sha ni sabta da wurin na ake ajiye shi kayan abincin nan suka zama kamar su shinkafa da masara da makamacin raka to jama'a mun kawo muku exclusive mun nemi yan sadda irin abinci irin haka balayan Burkina nan su abin da ya dame sosai mun samu lokaci mu kawo cikin studio musu tambaya ya dangane batun shi research na ya zo ta sa'ilin batun shi business su in Allah ya yarda prof we just made them understand and we spoke emphatically that you made an emphatic submission, the fact that the aflatoxin is not only found in Burkina. So that they shouldn't think that you are
witch hunting.
Exactly. or your research is to support their businesses. But then it touches all green food, all dry foods. Just know how best you can store it, just as Prof just made mention of it. Now, okay, we've spoken about the preventive measures. Now, very important question.
The last and very important question.
It says, how dangerous is the consumption of Burkina vis-a-vis to
your findings?
Your findings.
This one they were putting you on the spot.
Okay, though you stated clearly
it's not really
factual and everything that's not found in Burkina, but because the sample were taken from Burkina.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we clear the air so that people will have a breather.
Okay. So what I'll say is that our findings have pointed to the fact that all the millets, the Burkina samples picked up had aflatoxin.
Okay.
For me, that is very significant, and it's sending us a strong message that the people who are producing the Burkina should sit up and they should look carefully at the constituents, particularly the millet. And I think that we cannot push it under the carpet. That they should look at the millet and ensure that they have good quality millets for their work, and that is most important. And if you have millet that is not good and is cheap, you don't go for it. Because usually that is, I think that is an inclination that you want to get more money. So you are looking for, and the farmers will sell, I believe they will also look at the older ones that look more moldy and reduce the prices because they don't want to keep it and they want to sell it. And so our finding is pointing out that Burkina is one of the foods on the market that is exposed to aflatoxin, and therefore, and not only Burkina, as we rightly said, most of our foods, kenke and everything. You haven't stopped eating kenke,
oh,
so
yeah.
you will not stop taking Burkina. So the advice is to everyone who is producing, but of course we are talking about Burkina, so the Burkina producers should ensure that they don't use the wrong ones, things for us. If you don't have one, stop making it.
That's right.
Don't do it.
Right.
You don't have to do it at all costs.
Yes. So, I like the final submission. Gaskiya ta nuna damuwa wai in ka san baka samu maiwa mai kyau. So da mu mata tambaya ne cewa ya dangane shi research na suka yi dangane batun shi shan Burkina nan menene masalan nan ta yin magana cewa in ka san ko kin san baki samun maiwa mai kyau, manomi shi ya stock shi maiwan la Allah bai bata ya funfuna ya sar miki shi kan price na ke kasa sanadiyar bai sun abin ya bata daga wurin shi ke ma kina da kaman business ki ne wallahi maiwan ga na same shi gashi na price na yana kasa da ki ce wai in ka san ko kin san maiwan bai da kyau kake ma dafa Burkina ne kan mu yi kaka duba saboda a jihunka riban na ke da ki samu sai ya kama wasu matsala ko ya kama wasu cuta. Jama'a muna cutar da kanmu. Allah na bisa fa yana kallon mu sani ba sun zo su bata business yan Burkina bane, sun zo su magance shi wannan toxic din da ke cikin shi mai wannan ake da shi Burkina nan ne. Sai sa kamata ne mu duba wannan muke haje shi mai wannan, kamata ne mu duba shi sabtan da ke around wannan muke sadda shi mai wannan ko kuwa wannan muke dafa Burkina nan, kamata ne kuma mu duba ina muke samu mai wannan jama'a. Saboda Allah
aflatoxins na abin da yake yi kenan shi yake nuna mun haka yake cikin jikinka
yana kamun tun hancinka zuwa wuyanka ya zo ya shiga cikin zuciyanka har cikin ciki ya zo
wurin hanta da sauransu yi maka banna. Muna da wai first caller online Yusuf Pantain. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Lafiya.
Lafiya, lan tashi lafiya.
Allah ya kyamara. Wanga dai Allah wanga national issue. Kuma na ganin kama wanga da exclusive to Bina TV sannu ku da kokari Allah ya kiyaye.
Amin ya rabbi.
Batun funfuna dai bai zai bani. Na rafi da Allah wannan ciki muke har mu bi kuma ga wannan gari na ganin kama national issue.
To.
Saboda mu cikin nema muke kasuwanni masu. Yana ki muna gani abubuwa na funfuna shanya da abubuwa. Idan magana ga dai na da karfi sosai cikin gidaje mai za kaga kamar matar nan kai kokar da ka kawo ta.
Okay.
Idan na yaka after program ga ba batun maganan TV kawai ba ya kamata duba.
Okay.
Wannan bai da proper storage wurin da zai aje kayan shi duka kayan kasuwa.
Beautiful.
Ya kamata su zo market to market.
Beautiful.
A duba wanga ba ka mu duka mun zo mu mutu ba mu da ba mu ka 50 years.
Okay. All right.
Batun funfuna dai ai kusa magana funfuna dai ina ko'ina
beautiful
da ba yan san abincin nan kare bane yan kasuwan ne kamata fara
haka nan
wannan da wurin storage duka bai kamata ya sanda abu ba
haka nan
da mai wurin su ne kafin ya kai gida ma
ya tofu
zato aka ta ce dama
zafi
ita mun gode sannu ga ku kokari fa
sannu ka dai
kokari da kawo matan nan kuma na ji dadin da Allah ya kiyaye mu
amen wa alaikum salam. He says you've really done well, Pa, for coming here to talk this morning, and he's talking about the molds. He said it's a problem.
It's a national issue.
He said it's a national issue that when you even go to our markets, even some of the market women don't have proper storage facilities. So he said if after this program we should also try and go to the markets and just make awareness campaigns so that they will know. He said some of these Burkina makers or Kenke makers, it's not their fault. Sometimes by the time they buy those stuffs from the markets, it's already moldy. So that's what he said. He said you've really done well, and God should bless you.
And I think we'll just call upon the Food and Drug Board.
Yes.
They should come into this issue because of the issue about storage. If you don't have a good and better storage,
you shouldn't be
allow you
operating.
to operate.
Exactly.
With that, it also help in reducing the cases in terms of the aflatoxin.
Women are
I think the thing the standard Ghana Standard Authority, I think some time ago, I recall that they used to go to the markets and even checking the things that people were using to measure and so on. So I think that it's also part of their work. So it's not just them, but also the not only the FDA, but
the standard boards as well. Okay, we have another caller. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum.
Aje Hafsa, kwa lafiya?
Lafiya lau.
Muna jinki.
Yan kudi batun bikinan nan da kuke fadi nan. Mu kuma muna yin bikinan nan, amma me wannan ya za mu gane kaman me wannan.
Ku ne za ku duba wanda bai ta ce dai wanda yayi funfuna. Ai kin gane funfuna ai. Funfunan nan shine masalan nan da kanshi. Kuka duba wai a duba mai quality mai kyau wanda bai da funfuna funfunan nan shike kawo wannan masalan da ake samu wannan cikin abincin mun nan.
Kuma kai da kai ya kamaci kuna fito da shi
iska na bugawa
a bar sa shi cikin
buwa ajiye. Muna jinki. Ina jin ki yi magana. Okay.
Okay. It's where the problem is coming from.
Okay,
mun bata labari so tabamu answers kai. It's where the problem is coming from. Muna jinki.
Kaman line yaji off. She's complaining that sometimes. Okay, to Amunji.
Okay.
She's saying sometimes how to identify if the thing is moldy.
Good or bad.
So because sometimes when they buy it from the market, they measure it for them to say it's not like it's in a sack. So they won't even know probably it was moldy and they cleaned it and they gave it to them. So how would they be able to identify that?
Yeah. So in fact, we used to have this. It's a bit expensive, but there are labs.
Okay.
The CSIR, they have labs. Ghana Standard Authority, they have labs. So especially the poultry farmers who want to make sure that they bring out good products for them, they would come to go to these labs and send some of their grains and have them tested. And they do that. So that is one way. But for instance, the women who came to see me, they said that some of the grains, when you even pick them, you can see that it's bad. So at least the little that you can do.
Na kingani kama atana fadwa cewa kama yawanci inda kaga abin da ya bata abinci ne bata kada kan kama ka gane wai wasu na suka zo wurin tana suka doki abinci na suka duba wai sun idan sun kwashe mai wannan suna gan kama mai wanga akwai masala tare da shi wai sa'ilin kuma da wannan na shi na yana da dan sada wasu na zuwa lab suna zuwa check a duba kama shi mai wanga yana da kyau ko bai da kyau amma ba mu da wannan na san mu na matsayin na ba mu kai amma wanda suke sadda mai wannan a da higher scale na suka shi da yawan nan kamata ne ku ku samu ku je lab na ce kamar in mai wannan ku ke kawo ga ko manomi ne ke kawo muku ga yana da kyau so da wannan suka zo nima so su sai abincin nan ana za sai abincin nan directly me sai me samu lokaci wannan testing isa ina fitowa ga wa'anda suke sayar da abincin nan from the market level isa duba daga wurin ne so a magance shi
muna da wai Abdurrahman daga Katamansu. Assalamu alaikum. Kwa lafiya. Alright, muna jin ka.
Ya kure kayan batun bai wannan.
Na'am.
Akwai waransu suna sai kayan na inda aka sai bai wannan. Wanda bai da kyau nan. Sai a ɗauki a gama da wanda ke da kyau saboda su samu riba. Kaga wannan duka ina kawo matsala da yawa. Wurin sai ruwa masu kasuwanci na.
Okay.
Da ya kai sai kamar kudu ko kudu sai da wanda ke da kyau na sai kaya kudu na sai da gama kudu na. Kuma sai zo yana sai da makasuwa na mutane. Wanda duka muna gani amma mba yau kuna magana yawa haka suke yi a ce wanda bai da kyau na
a gama da mai kyau
sai a zauna sai na mutane
okay
saboda kare su abu da ribar su
okay all right mun gode Mala Abdurrahman kenan. He's also saying sometimes some of these market women intentionally mix the good and the bad meal. So the people buying and they are not able to detect and determine which one is proper because they mix it. When you look at it, you might just spot a few of the bad ones in it, but like it's mixed. So he's saying that's another problem. And then the people end up, the innocent buyers end up buying and they prepare this burkina and then it becomes a problem. So he's saying now that we are saying it here, he's sure people will be aware that this is what goes on in our markets and they'll be very vigilant so that they're able to differentiate the good from the bad ones.
And then he made mention that the trick they use is that they get two healthy or better millets against one bad one.
Yeah.
So
and
they
mix
it. There's no way you
will even it will be difficult for you to detect. Oh, Prof, we're having a very interesting conversation. I wish we had more time, like 2 hours to discuss, because our callers are interested and they keep calling. I would like to have your final words, and one of these days we'll bring you back or we'll come to the office and have another exclusive.
So that people will get to know how authentic the research space is.
So we want to have your final words.
Thank you very much for having me. So my final words to those who are, especially I would like to talk to the producers and also farmers, if they are listening in, that we want to plead with them. This is coming to integrity. And the businesswomen, this is coming to integrity that puts your nation first, puts the lives of the people in your country first. So please ensure that you do a good thing. Don't give us, if you have produce on the farm that are bad, don't bring them home. Just throw them away. And if you want to produce something and sell, please ensure that it is free of mold. And if you have to store it, please ensure that you store your samples, your food produce, the grains, very well before you take them. Even for those of us who eat them at home, who eat, grains and all at home, I think that we are also advised through this to be more careful and vigilant and avoid eating moldy foods because they can harm us. Yes, cancer is a problem that, you can't, it's difficult to go away, get it go away. Only a few people recover from cancer. Very, very few people recover from cancer. And liver cancer is terrible.
Yeah.
And so please let us all guard against this. Hepatitis is around and we don't want to compound the problem. We can help ourselves if we all put our hands to the task to avoid eating moldy grains, cereals. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Prof.
Takawazan su tantance duka na shine kaka duba da ajuhunka, kaka duba da riba na da ka samu, ka sa soyayyar gari a cikin zuciyanka, ka fidda wani tunani cewa kaman kana neman kudi sa kama mutane zamba. Tana gwada kaman idan ni da kai mun sa tunanin gari da tunanin juna, ba mu juna zamba, ba mu so mu cutar da juna. ya bari shi wanga shi toxic ga yazo kasa saboda in ka je manomi ka saka mabi da kyau ka cire shi masu sai in bi da kyau ba su sayarwa kai na karka sai kuma karka duba bi da kyau ba ka yi ni na dan shi kuma na san kaman ba komi ya zama kaman daidaitu kenan shi sa jama'a fana submission ta bayar kenan
isa mu kokari dan Allah mu kare ba ma abincin siyarwa ba ko abincin waje duka abincin gida ma mu duba da kyau abincin da ya funfuna dan Allah mu yi kokari mu kiyaye cin abincin da ya funfuna kamun dai mu wuce dai ina da birthday wish nan gurin da nake so in yi Hajiya Fatima Mubarak yar Hajiya Sana yau birthday ki ana wishing ki happy birthday from mijinki Alhaji Isaka da yaran duka the entire family shi yana wishing ki happy birthday wai cake na zuwa an order special cake ana kawo miki cake Hajiya Fatima ana order miki special cake yasa happy birthday kaki damu yau da ki je ki kwanta ki relax don ba surprise wasa za a kawo miki ba Allah ya yi ma rayuwa albarka Hajiya Fatima Allah ya kara lafiya da yawancin rai mai amfani mai albarka to masu kallo anan zamu kawo muku karshen wannan tattaunawa da muka yi da bako mu a cikin gida za ku dan zagaya mu dawo muna da wani bako kuma shi ma ya shigo zamu zo mu tattauna da shi ku kasance da mu